My son took out a $200,000 loan in my name to finance his wife's luxurious lifestyle, and now I'm the one drowning in debt, facing lawsuits, and questioning everything I ever believed about family. Before I tell you how this nightmare unfolded, I need to ask you something straight from the heart. If your own child betrayed you on this level, would you forgive them, or would you cut them out completely? Because even now, I'm still torn between being a father and being a fool. It all started the day I got a call from my bank. One of those calls that freezes your blood and makes you sit down because your legs start shaking on their own. The voice on the other end said, "Sir, we're calling to confirm the loan you applied for. $200,000 approved and transferred." When I tell you I nearly dropped my phone, I mean it. I hadn't applied for anything. I hadn't taken out a loan in over 20 years. I hadn't even co-signed for anyone. My first thought was fraud. Identity theft, some stranger halfway across the country pretending to be me. I had no clue that the thief was sitting inside my own family, my son. Let me go back for a moment so you can understand the full picture. I'm a 63-year-old retired mechanic. I spent my whole life working with my hands, earning every dollar with sweat, cuts, and sore muscles. I raised 2 kids. My daughter, the older one, who worked her way through college and built a stable, responsible life. And then there's my son, my boy, the one I always tried to help a little more because he struggled in school, bounced between jobs, and somehow always found himself surrounded by people who weren't exactly the best influences. But he had a good heart, or at least I thought he did, and then he married her, Crystal. If there was ever a walking, talking red flag, it was her. I don't say that lightly because I tried hard, really hard, to give her the benefit of the doubt, but the first time I met her, she had designer sunglasses on her head, a luxury handbag on her arm, and this way of looking around my house like she was evaluating a thrift store donation box. She loved labels, brands, boutiques, flashy things, you know the type. Meanwhile, my son worked part-time as a fitness trainer and she didn't work at all. Somehow, though, they were always posting pictures at expensive restaurants, taking weekend trips, wearing new outfits, buying the newest phones. I assumed they were either budgeting better than I thought, or maybe she had some savings from before. I didn't pry. I didn't want to be that father-in-law. Little did I know the budgeting was my credit score. So when the bank called, I rushed down there immediately. I sat with the loan officer, who pulled everything up on the screen. There it was, my name, my information, my signature, except it wasn't my signature. It looked close but sloppy, like someone traced it from memory. My stomach sank. I asked the officer who had filed the paperwork. She clicked a few times and said, "It was submitted online, sir. No in-person interaction." And then she pointed out something I hadn't noticed. The phone number attached to the application wasn't mine. That was the moment everything clicked into place. I recognized the number. It was my son's. My hands started shaking. I couldn't breathe properly. I remember whispering, "He wouldn't do this, he wouldn't do this, he wouldn't." The officer was kind, but she had this look on her face that said she'd seen this exact story 100 times, family stealing from family. I went home, sat in my living room, and just stared at the wall for almost an hour. When my son eventually answered my call, he sounded nervous from the first second. That told me everything. "Dad, listen, I can explain." I cut him off immediately. "Did you take out a loan in my name?" There was silence. Long, painful silence, and then he said, "We needed help, Dad. Crystal wanted to start her boutique business. It's an investment. We'll pay it back." I couldn't believe it. This wasn't borrowing money. This wasn't asking for help. This was fraud. identity theft, a felony. I told him to come to my house immediately. He showed up with Crystal, which was already a bad sign. She walked in like she owned the place, sat on my couch, crossed her legs, and started talking before I even asked her to. Your son did this for our future. You should be proud he's taking initiative. My jaw literally dropped. She had this way of smiling that made my skin crawl. Confident, manipulative, like she thought she was smarter than everyone in the room. My son sat beside her looking guilty but also defensive, like he'd been coached. I asked, "Do you understand you committed fraud? You forged my signature. You could go to prison for this." My son tried to reach for my hand and said, "Dad, don't say it like that. It wasn't like that. We were gonna tell you." When I snapped. "After your boutique magically made 200 grand, Crystal scoffed and rolled her eyes. "You're being dramatic. It's not that big of a deal. You're retired anyway." That was when something inside me snapped so hard I felt it physically. I told them both to get out. My son pleaded, Crystal argued, but I didn't budge. I needed space. I needed to understand what I was going to do. Because the bank told me point blank. I was responsible for the loan unless I filed a police report and pressed charges. Imagine being a father and having to choose between financial ruin or sending your own child to prison. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I kept imagining courtrooms, lawyers, bankruptcy, and my son in handcuffs. And then I imagined Crystal shopping happily with money that was never hers. I felt sick. A few days went by. I tried to negotiate, tried to demand they instantly return the funds or transfer the loan to their name, but they had already spent a huge chunk of it on clothes, vacations, remodeling their apartment, and paying off Crystal's old debts. She even bought herself a $7,000 handbag. Meanwhile, every hour I waited, interest on that loan was stacking like a ticking bomb. And this is where I want to pause for a second and talk directly to you, the viewer. If you were in my position, what would you have done? Would you protect your child even if it meant destroying your own future? Or would you let the law handle it and deal with the guilt later? Because I swear, this tore me apart in a way nothing ever has. Before I tell you the decision I made, I want you to comment below what you would have done. I genuinely want to know, so here's what I did. I called the bank, I told them the truth, everything. They transferred me to a fraud specialist. She told me clearly, "You need to file a police report immediately." She sent me all the forms. I sat at my table with them in front of me, pen in hand. My hands were shaking so badly I had to steady them. I stared at the line where I had to write my son's name, and I wrote it. My chest felt like someone was squeezing it. I felt like the worst father alive, but I also felt relief, a strange, painful relief. After I filed the report, everything moved fast. The police contacted my son. He called me screaming, crying, begging me to retract everything. Crystal got on the phone at one point and threatened to ruin my life if I didn't fix this. The irony is she had already ruined it. My son eventually came to my house, sobbing, begging on his knees, saying, "Please, Dad, please don't do this to me." I told him, "Son, you did this to yourself." And that broke him. The case progressed. The detectives uncovered even more. They had attempted smaller loans in my name before, but those were denied because the income verification didn't match. They had also used my credit card to fund purchases I never noticed because I thought they were subscription renewals. Around $3,000 worth of random charges. They also dug into Crystal's background and discovered she had done similar things to her own mother years ago. Taken money, opened credit cards, disappeared for months. Suddenly everything made sense. This wasn't impulsive. This wasn't desperation. This was a pattern. Eventually, the district attorney offered my son a plea deal. He would avoid jail time if he agreed to full financial restitution and community service. But Crystal, she didn't get that lucky. She had forged documents, used my information, and orchestrated the whole thing. She ended up facing multiple charges. My son divorced her soon after, which I'm convinced he wouldn't have done if the mask hadn't finally fallen off her face. And me, well, I'm still dealing with the aftermath, the emotional toll, the broken trust, the uncomfortable gatherings where people whisper about what happened. Some family members say I was cruel. Others say I should have pressed charges harder, but at least the loan is no longer in my name. That alone saved me from losing everything I worked for. My son is slowly rebuilding his life. He's in therapy. We're talking again, carefully. There's distance, and I think that distance will remain for a long time. Because once someone betrays you like this, a part of you never fully lets your guard down again. If there's one thing I learned through all of this, it's that love doesn't mean letting someone destroy you. Sometimes loving someone means forcing them to face the consequences of their actions, and sometimes protecting yourself is the only way to save your relationships long term. If you were on my side in this situation, then please like this video, subscribe for more stories like this, and let me know in the comments what you truly think. Did I do the right thing? Or was there another path I could have taken? Thanks for listening to this mess of a story. I'll see you all in the next one.